Mr. Lorne Wolfson, I recently spent $15,000 for the privilege of a few hours of your expertise. I entered our mediation with the understanding, given your reputation and prices, that you would recognize the uniqueness of our case. That is almost $2 million of net worth by age 50. But career over and no legitimate hope for any significant more income, especially vis-a-vis the $250,000 needlessly squandered by the applicant, pretending that I could earn $125,000 per year from 2017 through my 65th birthday in 2030 for these past 19 months. April 16 through November 17 in blatant legalized extortion. I entered mediation with the understanding that you would talk Janet out of the twilight zone, which was the applicant's own counsel's description of her unyielding demands, and towards the substantial ground, far beyond my actual real-world employment opportunities, that I had already ceded, seeking peace prior to your retention. Instead, here's what I got from you and Torkin Mains for my $15,000 on JFK Day 2017.
Imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
I could not get you to even glance at the documented expenses I incurred and logged, both spreadsheet data and MasterCard documented transactions. Painfully earning my Alberta money in solitary confinement, that which you wholeheartedly advocated Janet's obvious deceitful theft thereof. Fact, I could not get you to recognize that moving from Calgary, Alberta to Oshawa, Ontario would entail financial cost. This shockingly applicant signed for theft. Yes. Was unjustly almost $37,000 to Janet's benefit and my detriment. 2. I could not get you to agree that it is common knowledge that a patient should follow doctor's orders. I could not even get you to agree that following doctor's orders be a reasonable course of action for a patient suffering severe diagnosed situational depression. Ironically, in no small part, due to this very same ludicrous illogic and transparently misandric treatment that I have suffered since I turned to my country for justice after being attacked by an attorney, whom I was told we had retained, with what, in any other circumstances, would be libel. Nightmarishly worse still, you mediated that I am to retroactively be held financially liable for failing to defy doctor's orders. This ridiculousness was $16,091 to Janet's benefit and my detriment. 3. I was grilled by you on how Janet, apparently feeling money concerns since at least our summer 2014 negotiation of my BMO severance, could have possibly made $11,000 in 2017. You, an Ontario family law mediator, looked at me incredulously, trying to fathom some bizarre world where women in their 50s are working at Tim Hortons and Shoppers Drug Mart. People here on Earth are incredulous when I tell them of your expertise. Janet can most certainly work 20 hours per week at a minimum wage job and has had years to secure this mere half-time employment. Plus, Janet has the appearance, smarts, and people skills to excel anywhere once she establishes a foothold. Given that holding Janet accountable to contributing even one half of her significant capabilities would meaningfully reduce the extorted confiscation of my past success and earnings, this was much to Janet's benefit and my detriment. 4. Notwithstanding applicant's dubious, extortion-y-looking track record of demanding my imputation of $125,000 for 19 months of completely unnecessary mind-bending hell, April 16 through November 17, and then quickly halving it to $65,000 as a strategic final offer immediately before trial, you refused to challenge applicant on the just as ridiculous $47,000 imputation that you were nonchalantly rubber stamping upon me. $47,000 in 2017? Doing what for whom? Half in Oshawa, Ontario, the other half in Regina, Saskatchewan, while on doctor's orders affirmed by counsel to not work at all? And moving me and my dependent son halfway across the country? You think? I retained you because Janet needed to understand her very real risk of my being imputed at 0 for 17 and 18 at trial, because that's where all the evidence points. And this time they won't be able to deny access to open court transcripts. Dr. Shearer and Meisner v. Natting. I did not retain you to further embolden applicant. That's exactly what I got for my 15K. My anxiety escalated as you refused to simply ask Janet Navra, 47K, doing what for whom? My anxiety went through the roof as I realized that I had no... My anxiety redlined as I realized that we just got fleeced for another 15K in the misandric nightmare of Ontario family law. Once again, this was much to Janet's benefit and my detriment. 5. I witnessed you first argue that my expert could be refuted, and then, when informed that Dr. Shearer has 40 years and is untouchable, simply ignore Dr. Shearer's $43.50 report, diagnosis, and treatment plan like it didn't even exist, and like there was a shred of credible evidence supporting 47K in 2017. This was exactly the same bluster, bluff, and willful blind ignorance that Sophie Hills inconceivably successfully deployed against solid evidence to further the extortion of my destroyed life at Justice Sommer's settlement conference on January 16, 2017, and was, of course, much to Janet's benefit and my detriment. 6. When discussing Derek's lack of motivation, education, and prospects, it became obvious to me that I was suffering prejudice. Like his father. No, I was incredibly motivated at his age. I went to university right after high school, then got my computer engineering diploma as well as my econ degree. I assure you, if I had had Derek's motivation, education, and prospects at his age, we'd have never met. But I always was a hippie at heart. Best of both worlds. I spent 22 years at the bottom of Shit Hill, going completely against my very nature in a free country, in my best efforts to handsomely provide for me and my family. Best of both worlds? No, sir. The worst of each, as I sacrificed my all, believing that I would enjoy well-earned financial security in my 50s and 60s, only to have my plans, hopes, and dreams squandered at 5K and 10K and 15K a pop. I suffered your prejudice due to my appearance, which, ironically, is due to my summarily dismissed, by you, multi-diagnosed mental illness. And besides, what is this, 1971? You know how I should express my freedom, do you? Your prejudgment of me was much to Janet's benefit and my detriment. 7. You delivered a late September 2017 text thread between Janet and I in response to my demanding proof of their claim that I had a job opportunity but declined it. You held it like it was a turd that I had left on the kitchen floor. You dropped it in front of me, acting like it was definitive proof against me. God, I wish that I could quickly think clear. Instead, I internally rage at the injustice and then analyze the correct answer hours and sometimes even days later. On Bay Street, I often lost to aggressive wit. Here's what that smoking gun actually indicated and or proved. A. I had an opportunity to see if I would be satisfactory to breathe crop dust 40 hours per week, to gross $800 per week in 2017 Q4. Given that I'm useless at operating big trucks and machinery, my being satisfactory to land and keep this job was indeed a big if. B. Of course, I'd have to explain to my new boss that I'd need an unknown number of weeks off in November and December to travel to Ontario to defend my life's work from legalized extortion. It is reasonable that Jim, a real boss in the real economy of the real world, needed someone in the position who, unlike me, could actually be there. The unsubstantiated allegations leveled against me for these past 2 years could very well have resulted in my losing this 40K job opportunity, even if I could survive the big if. C. I did not further explore this iffy opportunity of grossing 6 or 7 or 8K in 2017, because all of my doctors and lawyers advised me against doing so. D. The debilitating $125,000 per year imputation demand chronically hanging over and looming in my head nearly 2 years after our MOU and nearly 1 year after Dr. Shearer reported that I required 18 to 24 months completely off and could then be expected to gross 30 to 60K starting in 19 was literally killing me, destroying personal relationships and torturously killing me. Like Vincent Price doing Poe, In Ontario family law, the extortion that so thoroughly damages one's head is somehow, paradoxically, madly, flipped and used against to endorse the extortion to the incomprehensibly obvious benefit of the extorter. E. I'm not faking my mental illness, or I'm the best actor ever. I had no clue what job you were even talking about until you laid that turd down in front of me, and you know it. I can't read anything of any length, I can't remember, I can't learn, I can't function in public. While you pros keep cha-chinging on my very finite, limited proceeds of my entire life's work, you ignore respected doctors and insinuate me a shirker and a faker and a liar, making my very real, never-ending mental health crisis still far, far worse. How evil is that? F. Notwithstanding A through E, you deem me effed. To paraphrase, 47K it is. 47K for 17, another 47K for 18, and I'll be more than happy to charge still handsomely more to review this complete sham for 19 and beyond. This was much to Janet's benefit and my detriment. 8. You challenged me on how my mental health currently is, while I try to closely follow Doctors Lynn, Shearer, Meisner, and Attagari's treatment plans. By then I felt totally violated. I obviously can't win with your accusatory inquisition. Just as my doctors are pleased, I am justly proud of being sober August, September, October, November, while you clearly do not care one iota for and of my mental health. I could have said anything from stiff upper lip, doing my best, now sober, to complete honesty. I cannot even be with people. I'm a hermit that can't function outside my rented house in frigid Regina. It wouldn't have mattered. You're giving applicant my half of my life's work, regardless of my mental health and the damage your actions are further doing to it. This was, yet again, much to Janet's benefit and my detriment. I had severe mental health problems when Janet and I signed our fair principled MOU in October 2015. I then embarked on a scary, uncertain future with earned financial security to build a second career investing in myself and people and ideas. We have since had a dozen professionals each rip their pound of flesh from my life's work. Ultimately, Janet, Derek, and Megan get substantially less than our MOU provided, and, notwithstanding being completely consistently in the right through 2+ years of agonizing hell.
You understand that once this thing hits the courts in November, you're going to be diagnosed with being insane. No.
He can't make it to November. In the right through 2+ years of agonizing hell. All of my plans, hopes, and dreams are completely destroyed. They are now line items at Walker Head, Elliott Hills, Rosensack, Reed Clinic, Life Care Centers, Torkin Mains, etc. Mr. Wolfson, your actions so transparently displayed that your mandate that day was to do all that you could for Janet's benefit and my detriment. I cannot recall a single thing that you said or did on that 15K day that was to my benefit and or Janet's detriment. You, sir, have no idea how long and how smart and how hard I worked in the once-in-a-lifetime BMO empire I built for the benefit of me and my family in the mid-1990s, and then milked until 16 to earn the $15K that I paid for you and Ray and Lucia and Avra and the overhead on your Torque and Main's impressive offices in the heart of Canada's most prestigious real estate and catered lunch. I paid for it all, while you all ignoring unjust treatment against me, twisting my multi-diagnosed mental illness into something that exists when to applicants' benefit, but is faked when that is to applicants' benefit, and holding me to impossible earnings demands as I struggle to rebuild my shattered life. I balked at our scheduled mediation, knowing that it could be a complete waste of $15K, because Janet cedes nothing ever. Ray talked me out of that way of thinking. Ray indicated that you'd help Avra talk applicant out of the twilight zone. It never occurred that I would face 1 through 8 above. It never occurred that my retained mediator would side with applicant far beyond applicant's counsel. I regret shaking your hand as you bid me adieu. Notwithstanding being instructed to turn the other cheek, I have requested of God that I be granted a front row seat on the glorious day that He judges you. Dwayne Knobloch, December 20th, 2017, Regina, Saskatchewan. Readers of Knobloch.ca, coming soon, can anticipate an open letter to Sophie Hills, destroying a man's life with bad assumptions. Justice Somers denied respondents' $2,000 motion that he be allowed the transcripts of his open court, January 16th, 2017 settlement conference in Oshawa, Ontario. The respondent has been advised that His Honour's denial of the respondent's request for open court public record transcripts was bizarre.
Something really wrong is going on here. You are out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole trial is out of order.
The respondent plans an appeal to be allowed the transcripts of the justice he received in Oshawa, Ontario. The respondent cannot stomach that Canada has descended, in his lifetime, into a banana republic, his words, where a man is not entitled to his own open court proceedings transcripts. Readers of Knobloch.ca, coming soon, can anticipate January 16th, 2017, shattered memories of a shattering day, hopefully soon accompanied with the official transcripts of that strange and fateful day. Ontario Family Law, OFL. He feels that he stumbled into an inherently misandric system. There is little downside in an applicant leveling libel and forcing the squandering of $250,000 in a life-destroying extortion attempt. The respondent was 100% in the right for the entire 2+ years, yet suffered 90% of the consequences. It has been the respondent's experience that OFL clamps a diagnosed mentally ill man's head in a vice and then says, "Oh my God, look at his eyes bug out of his head," as it cranks the handle. Massive changes need be made to OFL, and the respondent believes that he can play a role. Readers of Knobloch.ca, coming soon, can anticipate Ontario Family Law, time to level the field. The respondent paid over $2.1 million in federal and provincial income taxes. He did so knowing that he was a Canadian and knowing that he'd receive justice if he ever needed it. Right? Legal disclaimer. The preceding customer complaint was written during an ongoing nervous breakdown. While mediator's self-reflection, apology, and refund are sought, absolutely no harm is intended while the customer honestly shares his personal opinion of Torque and Main's services rendered on November 22nd, 2017, and further, while he enjoys the very liberal latitude of the customer is always right.